Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pilar. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. I've had a really great week, and I really appreciate all the effort that's gone into it, so thanks a lot for that. And I hope that you've all had a great time too. Just before we get started, I'm still working on my inclusive language because I know how important that is, so I thought it might be fun if I do say anything that's ableist or anything like that. You can say, whoop, whoop, or something like that, and if I hear it, I'll know that I just did that, and I can apologize again. But it is something I'm working on. I've also been really working on accessibility with the web, and so when I put these slides together, I did try to make sure everything's readable and things like that, so if there's any trouble reading things, I'd like to hear about it after as well. So yeah, I'm here today to talk to you about, to give you a new way to communicate the benefits of style guide-driven development to your company and your clients. And yes, the question is, how is working with a UI component library, the Mise Plus of the modern WebChefs Kitchen? So I've kind of put this together to be quite enjoyable by everyone. So there's no technical barrier to any of this. If you haven't thought about working with pattern libraries and design systems before, you can just think directly about the food and then just sort of bridge the gaps as we go. So yeah, another title for this could be All Good Web Chefs Do Mise Plus. And for now, all you need to know that Mise Plus is just kitchen preparation. So it's chopping onions, it's preparing sauces, it's doing things that you can do ahead of time. You might be filleting a fish. So if you've ever seen Chef's Table or MasterChef, you might already be a little bit familiar. But it's quite popular in New Zealand. We actually really like the Australian MasterChef if you're going to do any of them. But so, yeah, I invite you to put your doubts aside just for a little bit and just sort of go with me here. Come on a little journey into the WebChefs Kitchen. And, so imagine that your company is a top web restaurant and we're all in the kitchen together, okay? So I promise not to mention anything about food that I'm not using as a direct reference to working with the web. So keep that in mind, and if I push the boat out too far for you, just remember that that's the case. So the first thing we need to do is pick a team and a way of working, more importantly. So yeah, here's two teams we could pick from to start with, and we might reference these as we go. So yeah, the first team, the team on the left, they like to turn up at 5 o'clock, just before dinner time, and get started cooking when the orders come in. So they say that they're more flexible this way, and they give the argument that we'll wait to see what's ordered before we start preparing anything, and then we know we're using our time most wisely. But from my experience, that's quite a stressful way to work, and it doesn't always lead to the best results for users. So for the rest of the talk, we're going to go with the team on the right. So the team on the right likes to arrive in the morning, even though dinner's not served until 6 p.m. They spend the day testing ideas, preparing ingredients and sauces that are likely to need, and doing things that they just won't have time for later on. So you can probably see where I'm going with this, and this is the nature of the ideas I have to share with you today. So we're going with the team on the right, and that's the team that does Mise Plus. So if you take one thing away from today, I'd like it to be that just being prepared makes high-pressure work more fun, and we get better results to our users. And that this analogy between food prep and working with component libraries, pattern libraries, is something that you can use, take back to your companies if you're not already working this way, and use it as a way to explain to potentially non-technical or technical stakeholders about the benefits of working this way. So yeah, there's no way that you can consistently put up experiences like this for diners and critics alike without a lot of preparation, testing, iteration. You need to be able to put up 10 of these at once and know that they're going to be consistently to this level. Yeah, you need to do a lot of work in advance. So what we'll cover, we'll just quickly define some terms so we're all on the same page. We'll unpack what is Mise Plus more directly and how it relates to the web. And if we've got time, we'll do this quick journey from pantry to plate, just to talk about efficiency really and innovation. So yeah, we'll loosely define design system, pattern library, and style guide. And yeah, you might define these differently from me, and that's totally fine. So design system for today, I'd like us to think of this as the cuisine. Like, are we going to cook modern Italian? Are we doing Japanese? Are we doing classic French? So you can see that the decision that we make on this is going to affect all other decisions from here, right? So it's really important to know that up front. What's your cuisine? Now, pattern libraries, component libraries, UI component libraries, we could think of these as ingredients and tips on those ingredients and recipes. So you might have a page all about red cabbage, what's it good to pair with, what are the different ways that you could prepare it. So in a component library, that might be a button or some tabs. And a style guide. So I'm thinking of this today as the cookbook, so the place where these things live. It might be documentation on your patterns and brand assets, a few different things. So the web component library might be part of that, and there might be other things there too. So this could be a well-written cookbook. So what is Mise en place? Literally, it means to set in place. And it's, it means that you're getting things ready. You've got all your bowls laid out. You've measured precisely some ingredients you're about to use, just like on the cooking shows. Not quite to the turkey.pie, but things that would make the turkey.pie, you'd be getting ready here, if anyone was here earlier. So yeah, we'll just go on a little journey again into the kitchen and just to really understand what Mise en place is. So, okay, we're in the kitchen. It's morning. The doors are all closed. There's no customers here. But the kitchen's still very busy. We've got Ravi in the back who might be finely cutting onions and carrots in a way that can be used in a variety of dishes later. We've got Otto making sure all the things are laid out on the bench and ready for us. We've got all the bowls we won't need, all the different size wooden spoons, mixers, anything like that. And then Sally, she's reducing a stock and making a tomato sauce at the same time. So these are things that actually do take a bit of time, and you don't want to be doing that when someone's waiting at the table, right? Because that's when the pressure's really on. Now, while we're doing this, Jack realizes that we're actually out of anchovies for one of our sauces, and he's run back to the store. So we're recognizing things that have come up, and we've got the time to deal with it, right? So because we're working in this way. So we won't have that option later tonight when the guests are all at the table. And all this time, the team are tasting and refining what they're doing. They're getting feedback from each other and their taste buds, and from that feedback, they're able to iterate on what they're doing, right? So, cutting things in a certain way, getting everything ready just right. So there's no final dish in sight in any of these shots, but the common elements are really coming together. So we're feeling pretty good about how tonight's cook is going to go. And this is Mise en place in action, and this is how I'm recommending we should be working with the web. And yeah, it's not a new idea, which we'll unpack in a bit too. So yeah, what are the benefits? If we work in this way, what do we get? So one of the big things, and this is literally from the cooking world, it helps to ensure quality and consistency in our cooking. So that there's a direct relationship there. Our measurements are precise. We've worked in a way where we can easily replicate our processes to achieve consistent results. So there's quite a strong relationship between the food and the web there. But the big thing is that our lives are just more enjoyable, right? And the customer gets a better experience. So it's very unlikely that a chef will have a breakdown tonight while they're trying to struggle to fill impossible orders to a really limited timeline. If anyone works on big products and big companies, that can be a real thing, like managing our enjoyment at work just by being more organized. You can have some big wins. And there's much lower risk also of any customers waiting too long in the dining room. So timing can be everything with a good eating experience, and we're really working hard to gain control of that timing. We know what to expect. We've planned accordingly by identifying things that can be done in advance and making sure that we have that done by the time we're trying to do entire meals or entire flows or experiences. So how does this all relate to the web? I've been hinting at things as we've gone, but let's just be more direct for a while, just in case it's not super clear. So what we're really talking about is lovingly creating a set of reusable web components that are shared within a company and can be refined over time by anyone working there. So anyone can feed back into the system. And what we end up with is a pattern library and a style guide that's born from the design system. So if we go back to our Jamie shot, sneaking down in the bottom here, we've got, alongside his beans, we've got our little buttons and our tabs. So we're saying that just as you prepare your vegetables, just as you prepare some of these things, we can be preparing our media objects, our carousels, buttons, inputs, many reusable UI elements before we get around to making these entire pages or flows. And this means when you are doing that work, you're really focusing on UX and not thinking about hover states on a button or something which at that point would just be a distraction, right? So this is not new. This way of working is really well established already. Let's just spend a bit of time validating that for everyone before we jump back in. So here's a bunch of screenshots of just pattern libraries, style guides from well-known companies. Some of these might be really familiar. Here's a quick slide just comparing top tech companies that work in some kind of style guide-driven development kind of way, and comparing that with top restaurants of the world. These are some of my chef's table favorites, and these top restaurants are all doing mise en place. So if we think about this, what we're really seeing is that the quality of the code and the pattern libraries and the quality of the mise en place that happens in the kitchen during the afternoon flows right through to the final products, right? So it's not just that I get anyone to do the simple stuff in the day and the real chefs will come in at night. You really need to be focusing on quality all the way through. And the better you can do your mise en place in the afternoon, the better your final results are. More industry proof, this time from Airbnb. Just talking about how a unified design system is essential to building better and faster. So the big question is, what assumptions are safe to make? Like if we think back to that team on the left that we decided not to go with, they didn't want to make any assumptions because they felt like it was too dangerous. But some assumptions are okay to make, right? What can we get done ahead of time? We're pretty sure that we'll need onions. Unless it's a particular type of cuisine that doesn't include them, that's a pretty safe assumption to make. So just because we've cut onions and have them ready, that doesn't mean we need to use them in all of our dishes, right? But then when we do need them, they're ready to go. We know they've been cut just how we want them, which in our case might mean that our tabs have an accessibility pattern that we can share with the rest of the company without them having to do the research on that, or user testing potentially. And that stuff can be baked in, so we're doing things in advance here. Here's a quick slide just talking about snowflakes. So snowflake might be something beautiful and unique that doesn't quite fit with the system, but that's still valid, and it's not stopping anyone from doing that by working in this way. It just means that that's just an extra step that doesn't come from the shared library, but it's still valid if you can justify it. So it's not restrictive is the important thing to understand there. It's like enabling without being restrictive. So here's just a direct comparison. So let's say our onions are the buttons, our checkboxes are the carrots, and the mushrooms can be the tabs, yeah? So here's a random collection of things on both sides that can be combined into a variety of different dishes. Provided that the next stages are done with the same care and attention. So again, we're just looking at the relationship between the individual parts and the finished deliverable feature or dish. And if we can identify an issue with one of these ingredients, we can just fix it in that one place. We can go to our bowl of chopped onions before the next cook. We can just fix how those onions are chopped. We don't need to change the entire recipe. Which is really powerful for efficiency. So the way in which we combine these things, to take our random ingredients and combine them into a beautiful dish, could just be a light starter, could be something minimal, could be more fully featured. But the key thing to think about is that we are splitting the work into two major distinctive phases, right? We're doing the preparation and the service, so the mise en place and the service. The mise en place we've talked about a lot, the kitchen prep. And service time is when we have real users waiting at the table for us to deliver those experiences to them. And they don't want to wait longer than expected. So that brings me to just a quick talk about efficiency. So this is a bit more visual. Just talking about how being more efficient in design and development can save you some time. You can use that time to iterate. The more you iterate, the more likely you are to innovate. So this is a journey from pantry to plate. So we just think that the bubbling pot on the left is the start of the sprint, the start of the cook, and the plate with the cutlery is food on the table, experiences delivered to users, right? So if you're not doing mise en place, you might start cutting your onions at that point, and the length of the line is time. So let's say one sprint, you get a dish to the table, or you get some feature out to users. It's just of any length of time you can think. But then the next sprint, next dish that comes out, is a similar, maybe a little bit longer, some similar length of work. And each time you may have started cutting your onions or doing some preparation for that one dish at the start of that line. So everything that we've said so far, we're really suggesting that if we can identify the things that are the same in these two dishes, they both have onions and carrots, they both have this particular sauce, and the rest is different, right? So the stuff on the left might be the stuff that they share. Then there's no reason why we can't do that work ahead of time, or if we've done it in that first dish, we've already got it, move that into the mise en place, into the shared code, to the pattern library, and we've effectively moved that ship date back. So there's now a delta between that previous delivery time and the shipped features, and that's what we're looking at with this dotted line. So that's time that you've saved. And what does that mean? It's like, cool, we saved some time. So what? But what that really is, it's quite a big opportunity, especially once it scales up. What could you do? You could be better and faster if you go back to that Airbnb quote. So how does this relate to that? So you could be faster, you could ship early and move on. You ship 2 weeks ahead of schedule maybe, and you just move on. So that can be good if you're trying to beat competitors to market on something. You need to put 3 features out that all sort of work towards one goal. That could be a valid strategy. So you might end up with your 3-course meal in quite a short amount of time, which wouldn't always be a good thing. But the big opportunity really is innovation, right? And we only get there through feedback and iteration. So if this dotted line is time you've saved, then you can deliver a better experience to users in that same time, because you've shipped earlier. We've already established that you could move on, but instead you could just take the plate to the table, ask the user how it was, get some feedback, take that back to the kitchen, iterate, right? And the more you do that, you're just getting better and better with your dish. So if we think about the benefits of that for a single product, let's say you've got this Mise en place, this pattern library in the middle there, and you're supporting a product. So you've got shared code going into the product, iterate, share your new learnings back, and next time you take it out, it's that much better, right? So that's a great way to work. And then this could be multiple teams in that one product, or if you think about it as multiple products, now you've really opened up quite a lot of power there, because you're all feeding back into the centralized code of things that are, they won't have your business logic in there, but they'll be like reusable UI components that are just needed in all 3 of these products. Can be tricky to find the line there sometimes, but if you can do this, all of a sudden, you're working more collaboratively, right? You're already doing that for your single product. You've opened up a lot of collaboration for your teams. But now, if you've got a whole portfolio of different products, you're all working together now. So you might have one major product and a really minor niche thing on the side. Now you're leveraging all your devs and design and everyone from your major product and feeding that power into your minor. And that's really powerful, because no one's had to switch teams. You haven't had to restructure or anything like that. But just because you're working in a more collaborative way and really focusing on quality of the shareable stuff, yeah, I'm sure you can see that there's a lot of power there. So yeah, that's basically it. In summary, all this is really just about ensuring that we're using our time wisely for the customer's sake. And that's in the best interest of all your stakeholders, right? So if we can just be better for our users, that's best for everyone. So do what you can in advance, constantly iterate, improve on your patterns, share the work amongst the company, the teams that you work with. That's a really big part of it, being able to share, standing on each other's shoulders and not just reinventing the wheel. And you don't want 2 people in different parts of the building working through the same difficult problem, and then not knowing about it. So if you do all these things, what you end up with is a pattern library. And that's our UI component library. It's the mise en place of the WebChefs Kitchen. Hopefully I've convinced you of that. So thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.